Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today we're taking another look at VeChain and specifically the price action of the VET token. Guys, as we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will not miss another VeChain update. Right, with that said, done and out of the way, let's jump into some technical analysis here for VeChain. So we're going to kick things off with this weekly chart, guys. We are paired with USDT. This is Binance as the data source. And like always, for anyone who is new to the channel, we like to start here because it gives us a good view as to where things are going in the slightly longer term. There are, of course, these 5 impulse waves to the upside. This is again in line with many of these other altcoins in the space. This really started back in March of 2020, and we actually saw the peak of wave 3 in March of 2021. Sorry, for April 2021 for VeChain here. And this actually represents 18,295% in gains from March to April. Okay, so just over a year in total of 399 days, 18,295%. Show me a bank that will give you that. Right, obviously there are 2 things that were really important when it comes to these 5 impulse waves to the upside, and that is wave 2 being a correction wave and wave 4 being a correction wave. Now obviously when we started to see this, there was loads of talk in the space of bear market. You've had your peak, that's it, it's done. But this is a lack of understanding as to what is going on with the bigger picture. Hence it's always important to zoom out if you're ever in doubt. Obviously we can see what was going on from the low of March 2020 when we were oversold on our stochastic RSI, the low of wave 2 when we are also oversold on our stochastic RSI, and of course the low of wave 4 where we are oversold on our stochastic. And again, we take a look at the peaks of 1, 3, and where we are going for 5. We can see that we were overbought when we were approaching our peak of wave 1. We can see that actually, although there was a bit of manipulation with Bitcoin's third wave, we actually can see here that we had a pullback in the middle from a momentum point of view before surging up to actually peak out for wave 3. So overbought, slightly out of overbought, back into overbought, and then wave 4 came in. Now we are approaching the overbought area with our stochastic RSI right now on this weekly chart. And likewise, we can see over here, we were up in this overbought area for quite some time. And in the case of wave 3, we actually came out and then back in. So we know that this is actually a really good spot to be in as we start to see price discovery set out now for VeChain to push back to the upside. Now we have been calling out 700%, right, for VeChain. This is actually now down to 600% after the recent surge. The price target is still $1. That hasn't changed, and that is pretty much set in stone. But the percentage gains left on the table will change every time we do the technical analysis. So now we're talking about 600%, not 700%. And that's courtesy of the last couple of days where we've seen a good surge to the upside. Okay, so obviously now we're familiar with the weekly. Let's jump down into our daily chart where we actually start to see what's going on here. Let's just expand this up a little bit, and we're good to see that we have actually invalidated this potential ABC wave that we were talking about not long ago. And basically what we saw here was this ABC correction wave forming, but fortunately for us, we actually kept hold of our support line and we broke the B wave, and we actually broke the top of this one here anyway. So this whole ABC correction wave is dead. It's no longer valid, which is fantastic, which means we're just moving up to the upside. So I'll quickly remove that off the chart there. Good support was found, and now we're surging to the upside. Now we can see that we were oversold on our stochastic RSI when we were down at the bottom here during this moment. And now we're starting to get some traction to the upside. This is courtesy of the last 3 days of good green candles and good momentum. When we throw the volumes on here, we can see that we have had a good build on volumes. It's come down a little bit today. We'll see if that continues to build a better surge, and maybe we'll actually continue the rise. Otherwise, we'll potentially just trade sideways here before getting the next step. So volume is going to be key to see how that continues to grow for us, or if it doesn't grow, maybe just trade sideways while we correct our stochastic. Okay, so we'll continue to push back to the upside a little bit more before we actually come to terms with what's going on there. Otherwise, we're looking for resistance and support lines. Well, we can see a few things happening just here. We can zoom out and we can obviously go back a little way and just see where things are set. We can obviously see there's a little bit in there. Either way, we're actually in a pretty good spot with our wick today, but we have obviously come back down a little bit lower. I would say, yeah, there's definitely something here, but it's a bit too soon to say. Let's see how tomorrow and the next couple of days go as to whether or not we're going to find a really good strong support in this area here, or whether or not we're actually going to have to come down a little bit lower. So we'll just see how that one forms out. But we'll also check the hourly chart in a moment to see if there's any indication as to what to expect there. Otherwise, yeah, volumes, we'll have to see if that continues to grow or whether we start seeing a decline there and a loss of momentum. Now, obviously, it's important that we do check out the 𝗲𝗊 dashboard. So 𝗲𝗊.io, for those who do not know, 𝗲𝗊 is basically an artificial intelligence and machine learning platform that removes the human bias from ratings. Okay, so the idea here is that basically it takes all of the data around cryptocurrencies, and it actually crunches that through its algorithms, machine learning, to help understand which metrics to use, which ones not to use, which ones are reliable, which ones are not reliable, and then spits out, what it thinks actually the outcome is for fear and greed index, liquidity, profitability, etc. So for every cryptocurrency, I'm not saying not every, but they're constantly adding more and more cryptocurrencies to the platform. There's loads of them on here. We do have Vechain, and with Vechain, we can see the fear and greed index, according to the AI, is coming out as an A1 rating, i.e. this is extremely greedy. Now, for those who are new to the space, when it's extremely greedy, this is usually when you take profits off the table, and when it's extremely fearful, that's when you buy, or buy the dip, buy the fear, as we normally say, and sell the news, right? So ultimately what you're seeing here is basically a lot of people buying into Vechain, so do expect some profits to be taken soon, and maybe a red candle or two. And this will basically just be what traders will be looking for. They'll be looking at some key metrics saying, okay, we've hit resistance, we're extremely greedy, we'll take some profits off the table and we'll buy back when it's cheaper, for example. Okay, so everything kind of interesting. We'll get into the hourly in a moment. So fear and greed index right up there, A1, extremely greedy. AMI-HAD ratio, so liquidity, plenty of liquidity for Vechain right now, A2 rating, no problems indicated there. We'll take a look at the Sharpe ratio, well above the 50-day average here, A2 rating, really good. So is there a risk to holding Vechain or investing in Vechain right now? According to this artificial intelligence and A2 rating, very limited amount of risk to your rewards when it comes to Vechain and VET. Take a look at the return on investment, absolutely spiking recently towards the end here, and looking pretty good, right? So an A1 rating for profitability, it's been like this for a while. Like I said at the beginning of the video, right? 18,295% in 399 days. Show me a bank that will do that on your fiat currencies. Very, very few / none that I'm aware of would ever do that. So obviously Vechain's performed incredibly well, and that is being indicated here as well. So overall, Vechain's an A2 rating, which is right up there with the great projects. And again, it still surprises me that Vechain's just not a top 10 cryptocurrency. It just should be, based on everything that it is actually delivering. So really cool stuff going on there. So obviously we have a good view over the weekly, we have a good view over the daily, we know that the AI is good, but what about the more smaller time frame? What about that hourly view? What is this telling us that we need to be aware of? Well, we can see that we actually pierced through our previous resistance line just over here, and we've turned it into a good solid support. This comes in at 14.1. That's a key thing for us, okay? And we can look, as we can track this down a little bit lower, we're actually nowhere near 14.1. We're actually tracking at 14.3, and we're already in the oversold area on the stochastic. So bringing this down towards 4.1 seems like another sensible bouncing area where we could see another surge to the upside. So overall, actually not too bad at all. And again, on this smaller time frame, we can, of course, draw a couple of trend lines. There's definitely things forming here that we might want to kind of enhance in time. There's definitely seems to be something in that kind of trend there. Again, trend lines are quite weak. We don't want to use too many of them, but there is some interesting points here that I do want to just kind of see if I can draw out. So there's definitely some kind of trend forming here. We'll see if it holds. Obviously, they're incredibly weak. The main things that we want to focus in on are support and resistance lines. So we'll just keep these here for now to see if they work out or plan out in any way. If this bottom one holds well for us, then we could actually find ourselves get trapped and then push to the upside through a triangular wedge. But we'll watch that one and see if that does unfold here for Vechain. But otherwise, Vechain has performed incredibly well. We can see it's moved up quite nicely. We're only up to 600% gains now left when it comes to Vechain. So moving up towards that dollar level pretty well. If we actually flick back to our daily view, I don't think I mentioned it, but basically the Fibonacci retracement tool running from the peak of wave 3 down to the low of wave 4. This is what gives us our dollar target. Okay, we have our extensions of the 1.618, the 2.618, the 3.618, and the 4.236. These are the 4 targets that are set out from the extension levels on the Fibonacci retracement tool. The first target is 42 cents, followed by 64 cents, 87 cents, and then $1.01. And it's the $1.01 where we put the 5th wave. That's where we are going. That's what we are targeting, which is why we see $1 in all of our thumbnails. Okay, that target hasn't changed, but the percentage gains that we are looking to get on that journey will change, obviously. 600% left until we are at $1. So some pretty good price targets have gone through so far. Again, we haven't even got to the main area, which is this yellow box area here, which is the 618, the 702, the 786. So lots of work still on the cards here. We're looking for 21.5 cents. Once we get that, I think that's really when things are going to start heating up massively for VeChain. But good progress has been made. I wanted to give everyone a brief update on that progress, and hopefully you all are enjoying a slightly healthier portfolio today. Guys, if you have found this video useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will not miss another VeChain update. With that said, done and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.